shine, yeah. One time for my guy, yeah. Hold it ground, hold me down, yeah. You know I shine, I'ma shine, yeah. My God, hold me down, I'ma shine, yeah. My God, watch me shine. Whoa, whoa, I'm gonna shine. Whoa, you know I'ma shine, want me shine, yeah. One time for my guy, yeah. Hold it ground, hold me down, yeah. You know I shine, I'ma shine, yeah. My God, hold me down, I'ma shine, yeah. My God, watch me shine. Whoa, whoa, I'm gonna shine. Whoa, you know I gotta shine, watch me shine.
All right, y'all, it's time to shine. It's time to shine. You see, we got updates. You see, we're back locked and loaded for season 3 of the Run the Jewelz podcast show and series. I'm your humbled host, Julian Smartrimple, King Jewels, here, ready to run these jewels for season 3. We're here for our first episode of season 3. I'm excited. I know I got my guest ready in the background. She's about to get ready to come on and share her story and also share a ton of entrepreneurial jewels for those that are tuning in here on Facebook or either that are watching or listening to the podcast. We appreciate you, fellow jewels, for coming for our first season 3 premiere. Run the Jewelz, episode 151, The Path to Resilience. I'm about to get ready to bring in my very special guest so she can introduce herself to you all. She's definitely been a VIP jewel for the RTJ show from season 1. She's been also a client, a friend, and most importantly, a business partner in making sure that she is able to share her story and also to share some of her jewels that she's learned along the path of her entrepreneurship journey with you all tonight. Definitely share any of the video content that we will be talking and also going through tonight. And also you can listen to the RTJ show. We are a podcast officially from last year. So you can listen to us on all podcast platforms at Run the Jewelz Show on any podcast platform, Apple, Google, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon, you name it. We are on all podcast platforms. And so I'm about to get ready to bring in my very special guest who's going to be here ready for season 3, our first episode premiere. And she goes by the name of Miss Severine Desrosiers, hailing out of the United Kingdom, the UK. And so, Severine, how you feeling?
Hey, I'm good. Hi, everyone. All right. How are you?
I'm doing well. I know it's early or I'd probably say late in the night for you. And so tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're checking in from, and also tell us what time it is even over there in the UK right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you've done like a huge introduction for me. So yes, Severine, Severine Desrosiers. So to introduce myself a little bit, finance employee by day, writer and author by night of The Path to Resilience. Yeah, so coming in from London, the United Kingdom, and it's currently 12:34 right now, so pretty quiet.
Absolutely. How's the weather been over there for today? I know it's a lot of stuff happening in the UK. Give us a quick snapshot of what's happening in the UK with all the COVID stuff, with opening back up. Like, talk to us a little bit about what's happening in the UK.
Oh, okay. So you said as a snapshot. So we are in the middle of easing a lockdown that's been going on since the 16th of December. This was a strict lockdown, so only essential shops were opened. And so now we, like I said, they've eased a little bit of it, and we're seeing how it goes. The ease consists of being able to meet people up to 6 in the park or wherever else outside, having the restaurants open but only serving outdoors. And we're hoping that if everything goes well, mid-May, then people, they will up the amount of people that will be able to meet. And I think restaurants will be able to serve indoors. We've also got like a whole bunch of people that are getting vaccinated. And as you know, like I think there were some issues with the AstraZeneca, vaccine, which have more or less been rectified. But I don't know, I feel like the public, I guess I can only speak for myself, could like be more trustworthy towards that vaccine or whatnot. But at the risk of like getting into it, we are at the age groups of like the 40s and up as far as vaccinations go.
Okay. So I know it's a lot of happenings all over Europe, but especially where you are with the UK. We're glad you and your loved ones are safe. For those that are just tuning in, we are here with my very special guest for season 3, our world premiere. We have an international guest. She goes by the name of Severine Desrosiers, and we're going to be kicking off season 3 with the path to resilience. And so if you have any questions, I forgot to mention for my very special guests, you can list them at any time in the comment section. We'll get to them shortly. But make sure you put it in the comment section so we can see what you want to ask my special guest, Miss Severine Desrosiers. Also, too, this is, again, the premiere of season 3. And so we'll be putting different tags in the comment section so that you can see what we are doing for Smart Jewels Enterprises and also the Run the Jewelz podcast series. And so keep a lookout for what we are going to be marketing this evening. And so Severine, I'm going to let you take the reins and tell us a little bit about your first ever memoir, your first ever book that you just came out with recently this year in 2021, and talk to us about the title of your book, The Path to Resilience.
Yeah, so the title came about, I would say like 2 weeks before I was going to publish the book. Per se, it was originally meant to be something like How Precious Life Is, but after having had just failures go through it, or even like stories sometimes that I do tell people, just small snapshots of my life, that the word resilience kept on coming up. So I was thinking, actually, like, yeah, might as well change the title. And the memoir, which I know is now it's not as unusual, but to write a memoir that young, usually people write a memoir like, when they're like 60 or 70, and I'm doing this in my 30s, but I feel like it is a good snapshot that was like long enough and interesting enough to write a book about. And the journey is definitely, I don't know, like, yeah, I'm in my 30s on paper, but it seems like the journey that I've gone through is what like most people that are older would go through, per se, or even not at all. So to recap, to circle back, the title came about like a few days before. And I feel like it makes sense. I feel like it is exactly what the book is about. It's just about a journey from going through being a small town girl to like the woman that I am today, and everything in between.
Okay, small town girl. I love it. I love it. And for those that are fellow authors, or even want to be authors in the near future, you're going to be in store for a lot of jewels this evening to learn not just how to write your first book, but even your first memoir. It's never too early to write your first memoir, especially if you have a lot of life that you have lived already, no matter your age. And so we're going to be touching on how Severine got to write her first ever memoir, and why it's very important, especially for her family and her legacy, that she wrote this masterpiece that she just came out with. And so before we get further into tonight's episode, I just want to definitely remind you all, we do have sponsors. We do have businesses and also entrepreneurs that we highlight for the RTJ show. And so I'm going to get ready to bring in, again, our official sponsor for tonight's special episode is none other than Smart Food Kitchen. And so take a look and see a little bit about Smart Food Kitchen. So you saw a little bit about what Smart Food Kitchen. You saw a little bit about what Smart Food Kitchen is about. We definitely highlight tons of small businesses and also big businesses that are doing tremendous work in the community. And so tonight's official episode 151 is sponsored by Smart Food Kitchen. You can sign up for upcoming cooking demos, recipes, lists, and also for upcoming meal prep plans by clicking the link that's tagged in the comment section. And so shout out to our first business sponsor for season 3, Smart Food Kitchen. And back to you, Severine, because we wanted to highlight for sure our small business sponsor for tonight. So talk to us about your background. I forgot to mention is very dynamic. You are from many different cultures that you've been raised in. So talk to us about even your background and why it was important to represent your family culture and your background in your first memoir.
So as far as background, my parents were born in Haiti and then like moved to France towards their like teenage years, early 20s. And then, as most of you guys know, like I've moved to the States and stuff. So I guess to some extent, it's important to represent the background. I mean, it makes up who I am, and it's a huge part of the story as well, because throughout the story, I'm highlighting the horrors of like immigration, what it feels like to experience culture shock and so on. So yeah, I can only imagine what my parents had gone through doing their first move from Haiti to France, and then afterwards, like with us from France to the US, like you experienced that too. So I would say that's like one of the reasons why it would have been important.
Okay, absolutely. But talk to us even about from your beginnings of being born in France before. I know a little bit about your story, but talk to us about your beginnings coming into France and then eventually coming into the USA. Talk to us about that process, that journey.
So for them, like my mom told me, I was born in France, so I guess I came and was already there. But like for my dad, he followed my mom. They knew each other and were like, they went to the same school or whatnot from when I was told. For them coming to France, my mom told me that like my grandfather, her dad, was well aware, of course, that like Haiti is a third world country or whatnot. So usually by like the age of 15, he would ask his children like if they want to stay here and try to make a life of themselves, or like if possibly they want to go somewhere else. So the interesting thing is I've got a lot of, she has, I want to say 10 brothers and sisters. I think it's 10 or 12. I'm always confusing that part. and a good portion of them actually chose Canada. So I've got a lot of family in Canada, and my mom has chosen France. So I mean, things were different back then. We'll say I think there was still a certain level of racism, of course, but to get things like to try and get things like your the right to work and nationality was, believe it or not, like a little bit easier. And then they had to kind of become like this dynamic duo, the two of them, to try and like make it and survive in France and learn about like, you know, how things work. Did you want to know about the decision for the States, or was that just for France? Sorry.
No, you could talk to us about the States too, because a lot of folks, I'm sure you could attest to this, are very ignorant when it comes to the immigration process of not being in a native country that they have lived in before. So walk us through that, because that's a very prevalent and important part of your story from the path to resilience. And so talk to us about your version of your own immigration process.
For like, well, from my version, I'd have to see it from my parents' point of view, because I was very young when we moved. So the entire idea had stemmed from my mom, just like, I guess, a wish per se, always wanting to have bilingual children. So that part definitely kind of came true. And unlike most people, they, you know, that probably wouldn't have made that move, they had, you know, a house, a car, steady jobs. And, you know, back then, like we were back in the days where you pick one job and that's pretty much your career for your, you know, entirety of your life per se until retirement. So there was some criticism and friends, family, colleagues that tried to disencourage them to go, thinking that, you know, if you don't make it, it's not just you that's going to fail, it's also the children or whatnot. So, but yeah, despite of all that, because they wanted to see all about the American dream, they packed up and left anyway. So as far as the immigration process goes, for that part, I'm not sure how it went with them. Because I mean, as the plot thickens in the story, you'll see like there are actually a whole bunch of like troubles with that. From what I understand now, from an adult's point of view, it's actually super complicated to migrate this way. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's just very complex now more than ever, I would say. The visa process has gone, from what I see, like longer, more expensive, and so on. I know a couple of people that are still like that have moved to the States a couple of years ago, and they're still waiting to get like the green card, but they're just kind of in limbo. And then even here in the UK, you've got people that have been here for like almost decades, and yeah, like things are just not going forward. They kind of keep you in limbo for as long as they can.
Yeah, and it's a arduous process. I know for a lot of family members, you and I are both of Caribbean descent, but we also do know a lot of international friends and family and citizens. And so for those that have family that are from outside of your native country that you live in, the immigration process is like no other. And so hopefully you'll have some light shed behind the process that you may see your peers, your coworkers, or even your family members, how they have had to go through their own resilience in making sure that they do not let immigration literally deter them from having a prominent and successful life like Sev. And so talk to us a little bit about the writing process, Sev. I know in creating your first memoir, I know you had a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of, I guess, frustration in wanting to compile at the age that you are right now, and let everyone know too how old you are and how was this writing process for you in actually bringing it to fruition this year?
Oh, right. So to jump to things, 34. So 34. And just, I guess, like ode to the book, I've got 34 chapters, right? But the writing process, yeah, it comes from, stems from, I guess, a wish, the want to write the book. the will, and then afterwards I had to make time for it. So I already am like pretty much a morning person, but I had to wake up another like hour and a half earlier to start writing. I would say one of the first mistakes that I had made was to try to like schedule it down to a T, and was like, okay, it's 6 a.m. in the morning, I must write X amount of words or whatever, and try to do that, stay disciplined for a while, and realize that if you don't have, even though this is a memoir, it's still, I'm best in the field of creative writing as well, which is like what makes the book so easy to read. If I don't have like the creative juices, even if it is like the dedicated time to write per se, well, it's not working out. So, and that was the case. It wasn't working out. The writing fell flat. So I decided the schedule became more of like a guideline, and wait until I do get the creative juices. So one of the things that I've done, that I was introduced to, is what they call the morning pages, where it's like an exercise where you just write a whole bunch about anything and everything. You could write about whatever, how your night went, if you dreamt whatever that dream was, about what you're going to do for the day or whatnot. And so it's somewhere in between there afterwards is you kind of do this for like a half an hour, and afterwards you actually do get like your creative juices going, and you go on from there. So that was like pretty good to get me going. Also, something that is, it sounds weird, right? But like procrastination as well. There were some times when I'm like, oh my God, I need to do this because I don't want it to be like too long. I never really had a deadline for it, just because I didn't want to put that much pressure, but also I didn't want to be 5 years in still saying that you're writing a book and stuff. So, but learn that sometimes you need that procrastination. There are times when you need to kind of like get up, walk away from your work, and then step back into it, because it'll just help you out with the editing process. I would say like some of the frustration was sometimes where I would wait to get like a picture in my head as far as like what I'm wanting to write about and for that particular chapter, and then not being able to like finish it, or you can't even start it per se because the picture is like falls in the middle of the chapter, I want to say. But yeah, this is because it's a memoir, it was more difficult than I thought. I was thinking it was going to be easy because I'm like, oh, I know myself, like, so this should be fine and whatnot. But I still had to do some research. I still had to look some things up or whatnot to make sure that like I remembered everything correctly per se. So luckily we come from being 34 from the times like where we didn't always have cell phones or whatnot. So I like went back through old letters and stuff to refresh my memory and so on. It was, all in all, I would say this was like a cool process, but it was also one of the hardest things I've ever done, just because of everything that I've gone through, having to relive it. I had to do that so that I can put pen to paper and then afterwards like transfer the emotions to the reader. I don't know if I want to do that again for some of the chapters. And yeah, I would say if it's completely different than the how-to book, because that one is this is like you said, my first book, and it's also a memoir. So this is like my baby, I would say. Going forward, I don't know for sure, right? But I'm thinking books that I write going forward should be a lot easier, because this one is heavy on the emotional side.
Yeah. And you just got to get that first one out, is what a lot of writers that we interview, especially for the RTJ show, always say before you can start building upon that foundational product or that foundational piece. And so, like, talk to us for those that are just tuning in. We're here with Severine Desrosiers for our first episode for season 3, episode 151, The Path to Resilience. And she's talking about her first ever memoir that she literally produced this year in 2021. And so talk to those who may be afraid, Sev. I know it's a lot of people that do have the talent of writing, and they do have the gift of actually expressing themselves creatively through writing, whether it's through poetry, creative writing, technical writing, you name it. But talk to us about, like, why do you think so many people that do have the talent, they do have the gift, are afraid to use their gift in order to write their pieces or write their first work? Like, why do you think people are held back so much, even if they have a gift for writing?
Fear of being judged. Like, this is exactly what I had as well. I remember this is like a writing. That was one of the fears that I had as well. And that makes it so that afterwards we end up being our worst critic because it is something physical. I still get a small heart attack when somebody's like, I'm reading your book. I'm like, oh gosh, because it's not, once they've got it in their hands, you can't take it back. The story, yeah, the world will see. So I'm thinking, people correct me if I'm wrong, that it would be like the fear of being judged, fear that no one will read it, and then at the same time the fear that everybody will read it and stuff. And so that was what it was for me as well. The events that have happened were unique and crazy, and I've found that, like, usually when you've got stuff like that happens to you, it makes you feel immediately like ashamed, and then afterwards you start like isolating yourself. I can't say that would be the same for others that are writing the book, but I could definitely understand, like I said, that fear of like nobody reading it, everyone reading it. So my mantra is, like, if you're scared to do it and you really can't get rid of the fear, then just do it while you're scared. Just do it while you're scared. Like, I pressed with a very hand shaking like a leaf, the publish button, stomach hurting, had sleepless night because I was like, oh my gosh, so like people can see it now, but did it anyway. So do it while you're scared.
Yeah, that's some good advice right there, especially when it comes to not letting fear overtake you, which a lot of people that we know, our age even, that are still in that millennial Gen Z age group, they still are afraid, even in 2021, and knowing COVID and knowing the lives that have passed on from family members and friends, and some people that I talk to all the time, they are still scared in 2021 to make what they were called to make happen. And so give us some of the process behind coming up with the chapter names, and then also walk us through the publishing process. But talk to us about the chapter names. How did you come about making your chapter names and chapter titles, and then walk us through the publication process?
Yeah, so for the chapters, as part of the writing process for me anyway, I did it as like an outline format. So I didn't I started to try and write the book in a chronological order. To some extent I did. It is in chronological order, but I couldn't write it that way. So I did an outline instead. And I just kind of went, this is going to sound a little bit like unorganized, but I do organized chaos per se, where it was like first thing that pops to your mind when I would write the notes to myself, where I'm like, okay, well, I think the first chapter should talk about A, B, and C. So then to remember what it is that I'm even talking about, I would just, like I said, go with whatever name popped into my head. Some of the chapters, names have been changed, of course, through like mostly as far as the name changes, a lot of it has gone like through the end, but it was more of like, I would write it first. Like if I came up with a chapter or something to make me remember it, would write it. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, so this is what I've taken away from that chapter. And that would end up being the title of it. As far as like the publication process goes, it depends on what it is that like you would want. So I had to do a whole lot of reading to see how others had done it. I had to join some groups or whatnot. And for the groups, it is somewhat helpful, I guess. You find anything and everything. So you just have to kind of like research to see what kind of like writers groups you want to be involved in. And so like for the process, I read a lot about the famous ISBN and whatnot. So this is like a number that identifies your book. So if you were to go, if somebody were to order it like on lulu.com, just they can find your book with that title, and even the people from Lulu from that aside from the title, because you do have books that tend to have very similar titles or sometimes almost identical, with the number they'll be able to print your book. So to find out like what that was, what happens if you don't have it, it took a little bit of research, but in a nutshell, like I said, so this is like your book's identification number. You need a different one for every format that it is. So I've got one for the paperback version. The ebook, it depends on the platforms that you're on, but most of the times you don't need it. And then I've got the audiobook coming out soon. And quite honestly, I will find out with you guys, like whether you need an ISBN for that. But from what I had understood, I think it's like different formats and then different editions. If I were to make like huge changes, say change the title per se, then that would require a different ISBN. And also, you need to have one on the different platforms that you're on. So an example, there's like one ISBN for Lulu and then one for Amazon. But again, it'll depend. A lot of the websites, like Amazon, one of them will give you an ISBN for free, but then you can't have your book sold on the different platforms. So you'd want to purchase it. And I think for the States, it's like
just really quick, Seb, because I know there's a ton of people that don't know some of the names, like break down what Lulu is, even ISBNs, people that are not avid readers, like give us some of the breakdown of some of the words and names that you were just exclaiming.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So Lulu is a like website that sells books. But yeah, no, the ISBN is, I'll tell you, it's like this number right here that pops up. Like I've forgotten what it stands for, but like the I stands for like identification. And like I said, this is because like if you type in The Path to Resilience, there's another book I think called something very similar to it. So to avoid any confusion, you've got that everybody's got that one unique identification number, and that's how they can find your book if for whatever reason they don't find it by title, or to avoid confusing it with another title. And then Lulu is a bookstore, an online bookstore that is, of course, not necessarily as big as like Amazon or Barnes and Nobles, but it's definitely up there.
Yeah, and that's some great jewels for those who may not know about some of these locations and tips and jewels that Sev is sharing with you all, because I know it is a hefty price that most people pay when they do self-publishing versus going through a legit publisher. And so, of course, for those that do have questions, feel free to list them in the comments and we'll get to them shortly. For anyone, don't feel that your question is too small or too outrageous to ask. This is all a learning platform and also a learning tool that we use for entrepreneurs or people that want to become entrepreneurial. And so, Seb, talk to us about the financial side. That is what holds a lot of authors or potential authors back, is that I ain't got it. I don't got the bread. I don't got the capital. I don't have the connections. I don't have the steady income. I still got student loans. So talk to us about how did you finance your first memoir, and talk to us about even like how did the budget look like for getting to publication process for the memoir?
So I can tell you like what not to do as far as that goes. I'm not sure I'm anywhere near like the best example. I found this company, won't name names because we fell out in the end, but that was meant to take you through the process from you not writing anything on paper down right to holding the physical copy and having it being sold on Amazon. This is like before, when I didn't have any confidence in my writing and was thinking, well, okay, I'll get like a professional to do it and stuff. And this was like about like $2,000, which I thought was pretty decent for everything that you got. Long story short, when we started the ghostwriting process, I found like I wanted to be like really involved or whatnot, and the way that the ghostwriter was writing it, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm bored of reading this, and this is my own story. So in the end, I think it was you that I was like, didn't you get like paid when you were in college to write papers? So not sure why you're not writing it. I was like, oh, oh, you know what, let me give it a go. And turns out like now we're here, right? But so that part, like I said, don't do what I did. Don't like if you feel that you don't have the skills, perhaps I would say not necessarily a ghostwriter, but maybe like somebody like a writing coach would be a lot cheaper, and it would also like help to get you up there. Again, like sadly, these are the things that I did not do. And then like I was able to afford this because I have like a job full time. I wish I could say that this is like you can have cheap options. Not at all. The things that you can't skimp out on is like somebody that is a good editor. So I tried to skimp out on it the first time around, and got somebody that was very cheap, up and coming on Fiverr, on a site called Fiverr.com, where you can find like just different kind of services. And they've got an entire section for everything that's like books, from ghostwriting to helping you like publish it. And I just found like a whole lot of mistakes in the chapter. Well, even on top of that, I purchased like a software to help me go beyond the small mistakes and then look at like sentences and tell me like maybe you've repeated this word a million times, perhaps look for another one, kind of thing, like a software that goes in depth per se. So for that, like even though like I said I've got like a steady income or whatnot, I did look for the sales, I looked for the discounts, and it's called a pro writing aid. And I think they were at the time they were giving like a discount if you like write to them and like ask for it. So I did that like late at night before the last day. It was like, hey, I hope I'm not like too late or whatever. And yeah, so they ended up giving me the discount for that, and I got like I think 40% off, which is made like a huge difference. So like, sorry to wrap it up, you need the things that you can't skimp out on. And yes, it is expensive, I would say, is like a good editor. The beta readers, if you can like avoid paying for it, but try to make it so that it's not your friends and family, because you know they are so like your support system. So if that is the case, they'll probably just be like, oh yeah, it's good, and they won't like go in depth with it. What I did try to skimp out on, which didn't work out and literally brought me to tears, is the formatting. Unless like you work in like graphic design or whatnot, you probably have no business trying to like format the book. I mean, I say this, it was a horrendous experience for me. There are like templates out there, like Amazon gives you templates, Lulu gives you templates. Still wasn't able to figure it out. And yeah, so I wasted like a lot of time, a lot of nights trying to format it myself, and came out with a book that looked weird, where you can order your author's copy, which didn't see the light of day in the end, thank goodness. But then learned the hard way, okay, you need to get somebody to format it correctly. And then also like the book cover, that's super important. That being said, like I'm still not sure if I've done that correctly, but I do find within the groups for like the other authors that I'm on, whenever you can tell right then and there a book cover that was like self-made. And that's they say like it's one of the no-nos. Yes, the NDs, which are the names for any self-publishers, are the new up and coming thing, but you don't want to look like an indie writer or a publisher per se. So you want to make sure that you spend some money on the book cover. It is worth it. It makes a difference, because like I said, I even see myself how I'll like silently judge and be like, I don't know about this book, only because of the cover. So it matters.
No, talk to us about that piece. I don't want to skim over that process with the book cover, because I know we had tons of conversations when you were deciding what book cover you wanted to use. And a lot of self-published authors, their book covers, just to be frank, like they suck, like they're terrible. They really do not depict the quality of the piece of work and their masterpiece that they spent blood, sweat, and tears to create. So talk to us about how did you get to create your book cover, and then even why did you choose your own personal face for your memoir too?
Oh, that's a good question. So again, like this is please note disclaimer. This is coming from someone who isn't even sure she has gotten it right herself. Just thought about had like looked up some stuff about other books in my category and that have a similar title and was seeing, okay, well, everybody is, putting like their full picture or full face out there and stuff. So it was like, okay, well, I'll do that. But also, like, to be frank, I did want to choose different pictures and had a photographer that was going to come who's a friend, so that wouldn't have cost me anything at all. But then COVID happened and we were not even allowed to like see anyone else. So I was like, okay, I really want to get this book out during the lockdown while people are at home without anything to do, because picking up a book, it would be a good idea. So yeah, just in the end ended up like choosing a picture that like a photo that I had taken some time ago and gone on from there. For the other question, you were saying like, yeah, for the cover, yeah, to re-emphasize, honest, it really is extremely important. Half of the time, writers are writers and have no business trying to do a book cover. It will hurt your sales a lot. Like I said, I go by like how I see it as well. Like you said, I can't, you may have poured your blood, sweat, and tears into it, but for me, like all I will see literally, is very cliche. Like I am judging the book by the cover, and I'm like, well, if you put very little to no effort from what I'm seeing right off the bat into your cover, why should I even bother like reading your book or whatnot? So yeah, I would say like honestly, spend the money, and it's worth it in the end. Otherwise, like you'll end up losing out on sales and so on, or people even noticing your book.
I'm sorry, I was on mute, but that's some excellent advice for a person that is already self-published or that is looking to become self-published. Definitely do not skimp money on your book cover. That is what is the first representation of what people will judge you and also value the quality of your book with. And so doing it yourself is not cute. With a lot of peers of mine that I have come across, like doing it yourself, like pay someone to do your book cover. There's tons of resources. And so Seb, I want you to get ready to read a little bit of your memoir to us while I'm getting ready to set up another one of our sponsors for the RTJ show. And so while I'm getting that ready, I want you to just get a favorite chapter or a favorite snippet of your book that you can do basically a reading for us before we get ready to wind down. If that's okay, is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
All right, cool. We'll be back at you in one quick second. So for those that have been following with the RTJ show in any way, shape, or form, we are a production, but we are first and foremost a podcast show. And so there's tons of creators out there and creatives that are sitting on the sidelines. They have a concept, they have an idea, they have a show that they want to produce or even that they want to create. And so we do offer consultation services for those creators that want to make their dream become a reality and to manifest it into existence. And so let's make your live show and podcast or your video production professional, and also let's create it this season. We offer a ton of services from show creation to live streaming services, technical assistance, virtual classroom meetings, master classes, and also help in multi-streaming your show or your platform to diverse audiences. Sevi is in the United Kingdom, and so we do have a ton of people that are going to be watching from her network in the UK. And so make sure you are putting money and investing in yourself to create your show this season, and we can help you do that. But as Seb gets ready to get a reading for us, because I want to let some people hear what your first memoir is about. I know you have an audio book that's about to drop, so you're not just having a regular book. You also are going to have your audio version ready shortly, but I want to give you the floor to do a short reading, and also let us know at the end what chapter it is too, so people can know when they first heard it on RTJ.
Oh, okay. This is a spoiler. Sorry, I'm telling you this at the beginning because it's not it's like I chose it in the middle of the book, and to give some context, it's like my favorite chapter, but it's a story within a story, if that makes sense. Okay, so here goes nothing, right? Dad, I'm not doing this with you, Portia yelled. It was a typical Saturday morning in the Williams family. Portia had asked her mom to take her to Walmart to buy some tampons, but just as she was about to leave the house, she realized she'd left her wallet inside. Amid her search, she got into yet another argument with her dad, Jerome. Jerome was an ex-soldier who became a cop immediately after leaving the army and picked up a drinking habit somewhere in between. Paired with his anger issues, it didn't take him long to become violent. He and Portia had similar personalities, causing the two of them to bump heads often, especially now that she was getting closer to being a legal adult. Their arguments became part of their weekend routine, and wanting no part of it, Diamond started working on Saturday mornings to get away from the family for a couple of hours. Oh, so you can talk back now, Jerome shouted from the living room. Portia rolled her eyes kept looking for her wallet in the room. Agitated that she didn't answer, Jerome rushed down to the garage and grabbed his gun. I'll show her, he muttered to himself, while making his way over to her. What did you say to me, little girl? Portia looked up to see her dad standing in the doorway of her bedroom, pointing the gun at her. She was scared, but remained unfazed. There was no way she would give him the satisfaction of reacting. Nonchalantly, she walked towards the door without so much as a glance in his direction. He clutched his handgun now, boiling with anger, and pushed her back. Nah, repeat what you done said earlier. He widened his stance, fully blocking the exit. Dad, you're being crazy right now. Let me through. Portia pushed her father out of the way, but he shoved her back, much harder this time. She reached for the gun and attempted to wrestle it out of his hands, but he fought back. A loud bang stopped them in their tracks. They glanced at each other's fearful eyes for a split second before looking down. The blood sprinkled over Portia's shoes. She looked at her hand and saw nothing but blood going through it. A stinging feeling brought her attention to her lower left side. A bullet had fired, and it had gone through her hand and into her stomach. You shot me! You actually shot me, she screamed. Terrified by his actions, Jerome dropped the gun and slowly stepped back, finally getting out of Portia's way as she limped out of the room with her hands on her stomach. Though she grew weaker with every step, her overwhelming determination to make it to the end of the hallway and into the kitchen kept her going. With bloody hands, she reached for her phone and called Diamond. Hey, Portia? All Diamond could hear was wheezing. Portia, are you okay? Diamond, something happened to me, she muttered, and it's bad, but know that I'm going to make it. You'll see, I'm going to get out of it. Portia? Without thinking twice, Diamond made a U-turn to rush back home. Unable to hold herself up any longer, Portia fainted and fell into a pool of her own blood. Floyd, the girl's brother, who had been into the room the whole time, wondered what the noise was all about. He opened his door to a horrific scene. Blood stained the walls, and Jerome sat on the floor, staring vacantly at nothing. Panic-stricken, Floyd took a big gulp and followed the trail of blood leading to the kitchen. There, he found Portia face down, unconscious. Mom, call 911. In a Paris cyber coffee, I was surfing Facebook and saw a picture of Portia on Diamond's wall. The caption read, I squeeze her hand and she can squeeze back. This gives me hope. Puzzled as to what Diamond was referring to, I glanced over the window and it was already dark. Saint-Denis was one of the most dangerous places in Paris, not a place you wanted to be at night. I started typing a message to Diamond and stopped in the middle of it. Be a good friend and go call her instead of sending some Facebook message. So I grabbed my scarf and jacket and headed to the payphone. It's Portia. She's in the hospital, Diamond said. Oh gosh, she explained everything to me. She told me about how the cops and news media came and filmed Jerome coming down the steps of their house with a bloody shirt and gun in his back pocket. She told me about how her extended family called her to tell her to say that it was all an accident, never even asking if Portia had survived. That incident reinforced what I already knew. Diamond always knew exactly how I felt when I had drama with my family. She was never really surprised at crazy stories I told her. Her family was just as chaotic as mine. I listened and empathized with her, and like a great friend she is, she turned her attention over to me. Sorry, Sev, I had been talking about my drama this whole time and didn't even think to ask about you. How are you doing? I smiled, thinking what a wonderful friend she was. We were the best of friends, and I wanted to tell her about my own situation. I wanted to tell her about the nights I had spent in the streets, how Isdine reacted when he found out I was homeless, everything. But now was not the time, for we were each going through our very own personalized hell.
Okay. You got the Tyler Perry story, it sounds like, over there in the script being made for your first memoir. I love it. So talk to us a little bit about that snippet that you read to us, and talk to us, how important is it to put certain pieces in your memoir versus not exposing as much of yourself in your first memoir?
Oh, no, you have to expose yourself. This is like a memoir. You got to lay it all out there. So yeah, like I said, this was actually one of the hardest points of my life at this part. But the title justifies exactly what it is. It was, everybody was going through their own hell. Thus, like I said, hell personalized. And even though it's a memoir, I had to include that story because we're all kind of like tangled, intertwined into each other's lives. But yeah, so as far as that goes, like remember I said earlier that if you can't shake away the fear, that you have to do it while you're fearful. So that was one of my things as well, where I was thinking, like, I don't want to lay it all out, but you kind of have to. And it is scary. But in the end, like, the feedback that comes out of it is so much better because, like, you know that it's real. And people actually appreciate the fact that you have the bravery to put it all out there, because you never know. And I also, like, I hadn't found out, so to my surprise, people I never would have thought could even have anything similar to what I've lived, like, came up to me and were like, oh, thank you for touching on this topic or that topic. It's actually one that isn't spoken of enough, per se.
I love it. We gotta, for those that may be watching, or if you're watching a replay, we putting the emojis up. Give Sev some likes, some hearts in the comment section, or even for this live stream. For those who are on the podcast, definitely she is giving y'all the heat this evening and talking about her writing process of how she created her first ever memoir, The Path to Resilience. This is a step-by-step process that she is staying up. I want to say it's close to 1 a.m., if not past 1 a.m. in the UK. So definitely follow what she is doing. And we're going to leave in the comment section shortly as we get ready to wind down, where you can purchase her first ever memoir, The Path to Resilience by Severine Desrosiers. But like and subscribe to this video or this podcast that you are listening to. We of course want to thank those jewels who are you watching or who are listening. For those that have been watching, if at any time during today's interview you have been blessed, feel free to sow a seed with us. It is pinned in the comment section how you can sow a seed for today's first ever premiere for season 3 of RTJ Run the Jewelz Show. You can Cash App us, Venmo, and then recently for season 3, we just started a Patreon account. And so I'm pinning in the comment section where you can literally go and subscribe to be a local patron for our Run the Jewelz vidcast and podcast show and series. And so, Sev, you are doing great and mighty things. I know you're already setting a lot of folks free from making excuses from why they haven't been able to create their first novel, their first book, their first selection. And so there's no excuses, especially in 2021, and why you cannot create your first piece of literature. And so we're down to the wire with where, we allow the special guest to leave a final jewel for thought. I'm gonna let you take it home and leave your final jewel, and then I'm gonna say a quick prayer over you, and then we'll let people know how they can reach you and also how they can support your movement and also your product that you just created.
Okay. Remember you said, like, earlier not to stop people from, like, writing or whatnot, and how what I've said hopefully will help people out. So just, you know, remember, like, this is my path to resilience. I'd be curious to see yours. And most likely you most likely have a good story and the world needs to hear it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Definitely the world needs to hear what you have to say, king or queen that is watching. You cannot sit on the sidelines anymore and watch other people do it. There are those who are movers and shakers, and there are those who are watchers. Do not be a watcher this season because time in life is short. Sev, I'm going to put on the screen where they can go and support you really quick. If you could just talk to us about where they can even potentially listen to the audio when it comes out while I put it on the screen, and then we'll bring you back for the final thoughts.
Yeah, so again, I am still in the process myself, but right now the audio version will be available on Amazon. But for the moment, you do have like the paperback version, the Kindle version that you can purchase on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Lulu.com, and I'm in the process of making it available on my own website as well. I
love it. I love it. And definitely go and support what Sev is doing for her product. I know she has some classes in the works. I know she has some master classes for those that are interested. Definitely go and follow her. Sev, where can they follow you if they are wanting to ask you any questions offline, if they are potentially going to be in the UK after COVID restrictions die down and they want to just sit down with you and talk to you about your first piece of literature? Like, how can they reach out to you?
Well, simple enough. I'm on social media. So on Facebook, which is just find me at Severine Desrosiers. And then Instagram, which is at Sevi1986. But also on Amazon, you can follow me as an author, and there's my information as well. And that's what you can also send me messages from there.
I love it. I love it. And is there any way, even outside of purchasing the book, that people can support you in this season? Like, do you have any other ways, whether it's via donations or things of that nature, that people can support you with creating potentially your second piece of literature, or even getting into more products? Like, how can they support you if they wanted to too?
Then in this case, yeah, just follow me, I would say, on the social media platforms, because I will keep everybody updated. I definitely want to create some content to help, like you said, all the other authors that may have like writer's block, that fear or whatnot. So I'll keep everybody posted on there. And then I also keep my author's space page on Amazon updated.
Absolutely. And I put on the screen, again, the Amazon link is in the comment section. But the title of Severine Desrosiers' first ever memoir is titled The Path to Resilience. You can purchase it via Amazon with the link that is, again, in the comment section. Go out and support someone who is actually telling her truth from a Haitian, French, and also I would even throw in African perspective, that she has gone through a whole ton of things in the early part of her life. She's only 34 right now, and she has gone through the immigration process. She hasn't cried about it. She hasn't complained about it. She's actually helped a tireless amount of people with getting through the immigration process in their own right, and including family and friends. And also, she is a financial guru in the making. I didn't even get to talk to her about that side because we wanted to focus on her first memoir. But she's a woman that's on the move. And so you will want to follow her and support what Sevi is doing in the near future. And so, Sev, I'm going to say a quick prayer over you really quick to make sure that we send you off to sleep. I know, what time is it over there right now?
1:30 now, a.m.
1:30 a.m., y'all. She's staying up in the UK to make sure she drops these jewels on the path to resilience with you all. So we got to pray for her. Give us some likes. Follow her on social. She's already told you where you can support her. And we appreciate you, Sev, for coming on this evening.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna say a quick prayer over you and let you get some rest. Father God, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for bringing Sevi on to just be able to be vulnerable and to share with our international audience her process in writing the memoir that you had called her to produce. We thank you for the product that is already completed and that will continue to just motivate and inspire others that are able to read her story and also be able to learn from her story. We thank you for those who have been inspired to even write their own literature and write their own book or their own memoir, and using Sevi as a voice of reason and also as a voice of motivation to do this. We thank you, Father, for the gifts and talents that you placed inside of Sevi. We pray that she will continue to thrive and to continue to build her legacy brick by brick this season, so that she can leave a strong legacy and also tons of footprints behind for others to follow. We thank you for her staying up this evening, this early morning, and we pray that her rest will be sweet and that she will be able to be refreshed as she goes to work tomorrow morning. We love you and I thank you, and it's in Jesus Christ, Yeshua's name I pray. Amen. All right, Sev. It's been a pleasure serving with you, Queen. We'll be in touch. We thank you for coming on to blaze the trail for episode 1 for season 3, The Path to Resilience.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thanks.
All right, we'll talk soon. Get some rest.
All right, bye.
Peace. All right, y'all. For those that have been rocking with us, you know that we're all about making sure that we support those who are not afraid to step into their calling, to step into their gifts, and to step into their purpose. And so what we always do at the end of each episode is that we give a jewels for thought. My jewels for thought really comes from what the title of Sevi's first memoir is. You have to learn how to be resilient. The weather is not always going to be the best. You are not always going to have favor in every single little thing that you do, but you can build a muscle of resilience. You can build a muscle of being able to discipline yourself to go against the grain and to go against any fear that may try to hold you back from not completing your mission and your purpose of what you've been called here on this earth to do. And so don't let family, don't let friends, don't let coworkers, don't let managers, don't let anybody hold you back from doing what you are called and what you have dreamt to do. This is not the day or the age to be holding back from what you are already writing about, what you are already dreaming about, what you are already previously thinking about before this year even began, of what you want to do with your life. Everybody has to make a choice and everybody has to make a decision. But those who are daring to make a leap of faith in this season, they will be rewarded. And so those are my final jewels for thought. I'm gonna bring back up on the screen where you can definitely support Sevi in her ventures that she is doing all across the globe. She's based out of the UK, but she has sales already coming from Asia. I'm pretty sure Africa, the Caribbean, and even in the US. And so you can purchase The Path to Resilience on Amazon with the link that's in the comment section. Also, if you want to be a guest on the RTJ show, I'm gonna run a quick clip of how you can be a guest on the future episodes for RTJ. So again, we are locked and loaded here for season 3 of the RTJ show. We already complete with the first episode for season 3 with Severine Desrosiers titled The Path to Resilience. But next week, every Tuesday, we will be launching a new episode. We have our very special guest, Xander Kazanowski, who is going to be talking about startups for Gen Z. So if you are a startup entrepreneur, or if you want to become a startup entrepreneur, you're going to be in for a treat with my very special guest, Xander Kazanowski, who is going to be here for the RTJ show, episode 152, Startups for Gen Z. And so stay tuned for what we are doing all across the globe. We have guests that are going to be here for RTJ that are not just US based, that they are also all across the globe. We are an international show and also a podcast. And so make sure you share this content with someone you know that can benefit from this information that we are sharing, and also these jewels that we are sharing. Like and subscribe to our ministry and also our movement of what we are doing here. You can like any of the comments that we have tagged in the comment section to make sure you are following us throughout the year to see what we are doing. We have a ton of resources in store for Smart Jewels Enterprises. And so make sure that you tap into us this season to see how we can help you and how we can create opportunities to help you to shine this season. I'm your humbled host, Julian Smart Rimple, here, King Jewels, just a humble servant of Yah, wanting to make sure that I'm doing my part to make sure that we are helping others to shine bright this season. And so if that is you, make sure again to click the link that is in the comment section tagged. If you've been blessed by tonight's episode, feel free to sow a seed with us. You will not be mistaken that we always are serving in the community and also the international community here in the U.S. and abroad. And so if you have been blessed by tonight's episode, feel free to sow a seed with us with the link that's tagged in the comment section. No donation or no seed is too small or too large. We appreciate those who have already sown for our previous season 1 and season 2. And we also do have a Patreon account currently right now. And so we are going to be building up our Patreon account for season 3. But no donation or no seed is too small or too large. And definitely go out and support my very special guest, Severine Desrosiers, who has her first ever memoir titled The Path to Resilience that is just dropped. She's one of my clients and also definitely one of my business partners that I want to get support and also to get not just sales, but even those who are interested in wanting to hear more about her writing process to create their own literature. Stay tuned for some of the master classes that she'll be having soon in showing you how to create your first memoir and also how to create your first self-publication. And so stay tuned, follow us on the RTJ podcast. You can look for us on any podcast platforms, and we'll be back every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern here on our podcast and also on Facebook Live to drop the jewels with you each and every week. It's been a pleasure serving with you. I'm King Jewels here signing out. Make sure you shine like the bright diamond jewel that you've been created to be, because someone that is watching you needs to feel and also needs to sense the light that you have within you. And so don't be afraid to shine bright like the diamond jewel you've been created to be. Those are all of my final jewels for thought. Make sure you take care of your body, your chicken, your immune system, because this is not the time to play around with your health. Stay hydrated and also stay in tune because we will see you all next Tuesday. Peace.